Yeah. I don't blame him. I was in that same boat. I'm thinking, he's trying to look after his team. Oh, good. Good. Okay. Good.
When it left the third,
The light's not coming on.
It's not going to.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm surprised you didn't know it's on the car. That's something like yeah. Dirty cheese. When they get paid and people work, everybody was doing, Saints just got caught. That is it first. That one game, Red Park played Minnesota. Oh, the Vikings? Oh, we retired Red Park. I was watching that. You did? Oh, that was the worst call game. I think like 7 times.
Are we good? Everyone would like that.
All right, good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to our special, or to our regular call meeting tonight for August. If you would please stand up, we will have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like to remind anyone that may be trying to stream that we are now streaming from our website. Feel free to go under the agenda and minute tabs, and when you click on that, there will be a box that comes across, and it will say meeting minutes, and then it will say in progress. And if you choose in progress, you will be able to watch live via our website. It will also be on YouTube tonight. I'm not sure that we will always stream it that way, but it will be on there tonight. But just know you can view from our website. At this time, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? I think we have a couple items to add.
Mayor and Board, I move that we adopt tonight's agenda with the mentioned amendments and changes to that.
Okay, so
Are there others than what was given to me?
yes, under 7.6, we're going to add an item that Ms. Sells has, 602 North Chapel and 321 Town Street. And then under
Well, those be, that being 7.6.
yes, 7.6 will be the same thing.
602 North Chapel.
And 321 Town Street. And then under 8 point, let's see, I guess under 9.1A, closed session. Does that work? Because then we come out for motion to adjourn.
Mayor and Board, I move that we adopt tonight's agenda with the inclusion of 7.6 addition on a matter regarding 602 Chapel and 321 Town Street. The second and final addition to tonight's agenda will be labeled as 9.1A for an executive closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11, subsection A6.
Okay, do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, at this time, do I have a motion to adopt the minutes from May 9th, 2022, 13th, 2022, and July 11th of 2022?
So moved, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We will move to item 3.1.
So you're not gonna
You
do
want to do
two?
two?
Oh, I skipped it, I'm sorry. Well, I might do. No, we will move to item 2.1, citizen comments. Ms. Seifert.
Miss Nadine Cherry.
Nadine Cherry, 14 West Garden Street. I will start off this evening by stating this board is doing everything you can to deter me from speaking out during citizens' comments. Guess what? As I am a tax-paying citizen, I will continue to speak out on things I see happening in town that I feel should not be happening. As I have spoken before about things being allowed to be placed on the sidewalks, preventing them from being used. This is an ADA violation. Before I forget to let this board know, I finally found this past Saturday the paperwork about the non-discrimination policy that I had requested. Technically, when I spoke during citizen comments in June, and Ms. Seifert was allowed to speak about what I had to say, if you will remember, when Leonard Barefoot was still here, responses to citizens' comments, there would be no comments made back at that time. We were told the board members could respond during board comments if they so chose to. By the way, about the video and not working during the June meeting, that was because it was cut off. As soon as I got through speaking, before Manager Seifert got up and started speaking about what I spoke about. that was possibly planned by the manager and some board slash mayor. Board member slash mayor. I hope you are aware there apparently was another power glitch this morning. Finally, Alderwoman Sales, once again, you are parked in the handicap parking spot.
Ms. Eager, next, Joyce Fowler.
No, Fowler.
Can you repeat that just for? Joyce Fowler, Fowler.
I live at 980 Colonial Drive. It's in the city limits of Landon. But I've had a business uptown for 30 years. I own the shop 125 and 127. I thought that you had to have permit when you redone the inside of your building or done anything to it. I've seen where some of them don't have permits. The girl that was in my business, she has finally got a permit because somebody turned it in that she was doing electrical and plumbing work, which she wasn't. So Rowan County told her that she had to get a permit just because somebody complained. Some of these people that have been doing renovation is doing it at night and on the weekend when nobody's there. And that's not fair. Landis, I thought, wanted to build up the business. No. The people that's up there now, they can do everything they want to try to turn loose, try to make the business that's not coming Landis. There's two of them that's up there, and they said, oh, the mayor's got our back. So what does that mean? They heard it, Meredith. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, Joyce, but I don't talk to those people, but go ahead.
Okay. And so, there's two families up in Landis. I don't know why they don't want businesses to come in. They want to do what they want to do, and that's all. They want to be a two-family town in Landis. That's not right. We want businesses to come in, and they just try to do something to keep them from coming in. And then I think where they were going to talk about the trash cans for the town on Central Avenue, there's no use because we had a trash can at our beauty shop before. We would see people from home would empty their car there, and then we have seen business. I've seen it move the trash can from down the street up the street because they didn't want it there. So I think it's not who you are or what you got. I think everybody should be treated equally in land. Thank you.
That's all the public comments. All right, at this time, we'll move to public hearings, 3.1. Motion to go into public hearing. And we need to get a motion to go into.
Mayor Board, I move that we go into a public legislative hearing for annexation and initial zoning request. Annexation number 2022-08-15, ZMA 2022-8-15-1.
Any discussion? All in favor? This time we'll ask Mr. Flow to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board, members of the public. Can everybody hear me okay? This one is regarding a parcel of property known as the Connor Tract. I'm going to hold up a map.
Mr. Flow, can you hold 1 second? I'm not sure your mic is out.
I'm not sure it is. There, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Stevens. I want to point to a piece of property that has been outside of the town limits all along, and it's right here. And it sits up against the Irish Creek Golf Course and backs up to the first phase of Irish Creek in this area. It's been known as the Connor Tract. There's a long parcel here, and then, of course, the new Irish Creek Phase 2 zoning map amendment that was done back in March, but on its northern side. that particular piece of property has, we've received a petition, to annex the property. Petition signed by the ownership, with permission of the ownership, I should say, and to also rezone the property, or I shouldn't say rezone, to apply to that property to match in March on the remainder of the Irish Creek Phase 2. So with that little bit of background, thank you. I want to try to describe it this way. In the past, an annexation and a zoning matter went in a sequence. One went before the other. Since the passage of new statutes a couple of years ago in 2020, called 160D as in David, they now allow for the concurrent processing of an annexation request and the zoning of that property under the town that's annexing zoning designation. So that's what you're looking at. So this public legislative hearing is actually what's referred to on the matter of the annexation. It's also on the matter of the initial zoning. Following that hearing, you have two different ordinances before you in your packet. The ordinance, the one that begins annex, is for the annexation of the property. The one that begins ZMA for zoning map amendment is for the zoning of that property. And I just wanted to make sure you do one hearing and then items to consider. The annexation does need to be voted on first before you apply the actual zoning. Any questions? It is a conditional zoning request, and it has the same conditions as the initial Irish Creek Phase 2 back in March. Okay.
Do we have any public comments?
We have David Nelson and Sean Tooley. However, I think that they signed up to answer any questions that you might have. I don't want to speak for them, but I don't think they had any particular comments.
That's correct.
Do we have any questions at this time? I think we're pretty clear. Okay. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, at this
No
time.
public comments from the public.
No,
that's
all
signed up. Okay.
Mayor Board, I move we close this public legislative hearing.
Second.
Do I have a motion? I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor? Thank you. All right.
Likewise, Mayor and Board, would like for us to take a vote in the first matter of consideration of ordinance to extend the corporate limits to include 10 Bonita Drive, under the annexation ordinance annex -2022-08-15.
Excellent.
Okay, we have a second from Mr. Coyer. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Secondly, I'd like to also, for us to consider the ordinance to amend the official zoning map, ZMA 2022-08-15-1, for the petition from Lennar for conditional zoning.
Have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, we will move to 3.2.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. My pleasure to be here to public session.
I think we need to open the hearing
Yes.
first. Sorry about that.
Mayor and Board, I move that we open back into public legislative hearing regarding ZMA 2022-08-152.
Do I have a second? Second, Ms. Fells. All right, at this time, Mr. Flood. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. All right, same map, new topic. In June, late June, the General Assembly, State of North Carolina, enacted a legislative boundary change, which you're familiar with. There's been discussion about that for most of this year with the city of Kannapolis. And it really addressed two primary areas. One, around the land that is considered the Irish Creek Phase 2 and the golf courses, which traded off a piece of higher ground in this area for a piece of higher ground in this area, and then moved the boundary back to the edge of the golf course. so that all of the golf course would be in one city, and the development of the neighborhoods would make sense where it changed from one city or town to the other, like crossing a bridge or a creek, rather than it dividing houses and dividing properties. There was a second area that we looked to clean up at the same time that was included in that bill. And it involves two different real pieces to it. The first is properties that are part of our street phase off of Camry Drive down here, where we had homes that were split, lots that were split, with front yards in Landis and backyards or homes in Kannapolis, or part of the house in one, and part of the house in the other. We also had the maintenance facility that goes with the golf course along Courier Drive there, that was split. Part of it, the back of it was in Landis, the front of it was in Kannapolis, and then, of course, the Church of God property, where the parking lot was split, part in Landis, part in Kannapolis. So while that legislative act was being considered for these other properties, the request was made to go ahead and clean that boundary up and to make it logical. So with the golf course and the Club at Irish Creek also goes the maintenance facility, okay? The Irish Creek Phase 1 that was predominantly in Landis now includes all of those lots that were split in Landis. And the Church of God property that was split before is now all in Landis. So we cleaned up a few things. Now, that was done by the legislature, so there was not really an annexation. It was just simply a boundary change. But what our task is tonight is to apply zoning to those new areas that were added to the town of Landis. Does that make sense? All those areas that were added to the town of Landis need to have Landis zoning. So that includes an area up in this northwestern part that fronts all the way out to the Lake Kannapolis and Cannon Farm Road area, would need to receive the Landis zoning. It has the new Kannapolis zoning. Now it needs the new Landis zoning, which would have the same mixed-use one conditional zoning designation as the remainder of the Irish Creek Phase 2 that's in Landis, including the part that was just annexed earlier this evening known as the contract. So that would all be Landis mixed-use one conditional zoning. So it limits it pretty much to single-family dwellings, few apartments. Now, we had to request, and we have received a petition from the owners of the property and their agents. That would be Lennar and Atlantic American Properties. And the reason we had to receive a petition is because it is a conditional zoning. Staff cannot initiate that. The planning board cannot initiate it. In fact, this governing board cannot initiate a conditional zoning. That requires only the property owner, or is limited to only the property owner and their agents to request. So they have submitted that paperwork. Now on Courier, where we're expanding the single-family residential 2 out to include those parts of the property that was just recently added, and then the civic designation to the church part that was just recently added, that is basically initiated by your staff to begin that process, because that is a straight zoning district, not a conditional zoning. Conditional means there are certain conditions that the property owner is going to be constrained to, okay? So is that clear as mud?
Yes, sir.
How'd I do? All right. Thank you. The planning board's recommendation on these, of course, was to zone them consistent with the adjoining properties. That would be the mixed-use 1 CZ for the Lennar project. It would be the single-family residential 2 for the Irish Creek Phase 1 area, and the civic for the church property.
All right, at this time, do you have any public comments? Ms. Seifert, do we have any public comments?
We only have David Nelson and Sean, position they had on the last.
Okay, at this time, board, do you have any questions for anyone? All right, at this, I have a motion to close the public hearing, or legislative hearing.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, at this time, I have a motion to consider the ordinance.
Mayor Board, I move that we consider this ordinance in front of us to amend the official zoning map and future land use map for the properties added to the town by ZMA-2022-808-15-2, which is attached along with formal petition from Lennar for their portion of the conditional zone.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we will move to 3.3. At this time, do I have a motion to open the public legislative hearing?
Motion to open public legislative hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we will ask Mr. John Gaines to the podium.
Good evening. You have before you a copy of the proposed ordinance for non-residential buildings or structure standards. This is very similar to a minimum housing code standard, but it is for non-residential buildings. So it could be for retail buildings, whether they're occupied or not. It could be for warehouses, industrial buildings, so forth. It covers that whole gamut. It sets a set of standards for buildings to be considered to be habitable or allowed to be habitable. It also sets standards for currently occupied buildings to have to meet based on the health, safety, and welfare of any of the occupants or visitors to those properties. So, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
All right, do we have any questions, Mr. Gaines? Do we have anyone signed up for public comments?
There are no comments.
All right, if there are no questions, we will move to close the public hearing.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, we will move to a motion for item E.
Mayor Board, I move that we consider this ordinance for non-residential building and structure code standards under number ordinance ORD-2022-08-15-1.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we will move to number 4, item 4.1. I'm still getting used to it, sorry.
This evening, we have a special guest with us from the North Carolina League of Municipalities to award the police division of our public safety department with an award for successfully completing the law enforcement risk review. You may recall several months ago, we received the same presentation for our fire department. I'm extremely proud of our fire and police employees under the direction of Dr. Zach Loschetti for being the first in the state to successfully complete both portions of the assessment. This accomplishment qualifies us for deductions on some of the insurance the league offers to municipalities. The purpose for this law enforcement review is to assess an agency's adherence to best practices, court decisions, and policies and procedures related to high liability activities in law enforcement. The goal is to mitigate liability exposure, enhance officer safety, and validate that training and operating procedures are meeting industry standards. The risk management review was designed and peer reviewed by a panel of police chiefs representing a cross-section of North Carolina law enforcement agencies and is available to those agencies who participate in the league's property and liability insurance pool. I'll open it up to the gentleman from the League of Municipalities for their presentation.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Thank you, Mayor Smith and Landis Town Board for this opportunity and recognizing the Landis Police Department for completing the North Carolina League's law enforcement risk review process. My name is Matthew Selves. I'm a public safety risk management consultant with the North Carolina League of Municipalities. I just want to give you a little bit of overview about what the risk review is. I know the manager talked about it, but we're going to just a little bit more information on that. Of course, the risk review involves a very comprehensive review of high-risk policies and procedures within the police department. It looks at the policies in general, the operations, the practices. It also includes a detailed on-site agency administrative and operations review where we look at equipment, we look at the facility, we do some little inspections, evidence, we talk to officers and conduct interviews. We do look at observations of operations, all to validate and make sure that practice align with the policies and in turn with the industry's best practices and manager safety. Now, we specifically, again, look at police vehicle operations, response, active resistance, or use of force, in other words, evidence processing, we look at employment practices and procedures, look at training, in addition to many other categories. There's 39 categories in all. There's 13 administrative and 26 operational categories. Again, this review is supported by the North Carolina Chiefs of Police Association, and I'm proud to report this evening that Landis Police Department has completed the law enforcement risk review process. Now, the chief, the command staff, and the department officers prioritized this initiative and made the process a very department priority. They were very proactive and involved during the whole process. I want to thank Chief Lachette, Captain Young, and the department's command staff and officers for their leadership and their willingness to participate in this very important initiative. Again, they're very open and transparent in the whole process. Now, I myself have spent 25 years in law enforcement, 12 years as a police chief, not too far from here in Iredell County, Troutman Police Chief. I was there for 12 years, worked with the Statesville Police Department and the Iredell County Sheriff's Office as well. And I worked with many other numerous agencies across the state, like Landis PD, and the officers, just like the officers here I worked with, demonstrated a very high level of commitment to their communities and in best practices enhance police professional and positively impact communities and relationships with the community. And we have a plaque to present this evening for the lead here, department here. Of course, it's titled North Carolina recognizes the Landis Police Department completing the law enforcement risk review process, and it's dated August 15th, 2022. And I'll turn this over to the chief. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just want to thank Mr. Sells here for all this help. Reached out to him over a year ago. This was a process that took a lot of time. We have a great partnership with the league. As you know, they help us out a lot with grant opportunities, whether it's for ballistic vests and other safety equipment. This is just another great initiative that they offer. So to be able to partner with them for the second time has been great. We've done the fire department risk review back in February, and now completing the law enforcement risk review this month. I believe if we're not the first, we're definitely the second municipality in the entire state of North Carolina to have completed both their fire and law enforcement process. And we got to give all that hard work to our staff. They really go above and beyond serving our citizens and making sure that they do the right thing at the right time. So thank you.
Thank you. This time we'll move to 4.2.
Tonight, Ms. Geraldine Gardner and Ms. Emily Parker from Central Carolina Regional Council will be talking with you about the strategic plan that we are getting started and providing an overview of that.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the board, staff, and public. My name is Geraldine Gardner, and I'm the Executive Director of the Central Carolina Regional Council. I'm here with my wonderful colleague, Emily Parker, who's the Senior Coordinator in our Government Affairs and Member Engagement team. And we just have a few slides for you tonight and some handouts to walk you through. While we're waiting for that to get set up, I just want to commend the mayor and the board and the administration for undertaking a really important process and helping to shape a future for your community. Strategic planning is a really vital tool for local governments to create a shared vision for how they're going to move their town forward. And we're really delighted as an organization to be working with you in this process. So in the presentation, we're just going to go over a few things. First, talking a little bit about what is strategic planning in the local government context. We had the opportunity to spend some time with members of the board and the mayor and heard a little bit from the manager and her team as part of an initial interview process. We're going to summarize a few things of what we heard, talk about the community survey, which is a really important tool for getting input from the public, and then end with a little overview of the process itself. So just As a point of familiarity, Central Iowa Regional Council has been serving the region for over 50 years. We are an organization that's focused on helping the region plan and prepare for the future, but also help our local governments build capacity in the work that they do in serving their constituents. Our mission, again, is to lead regional collaboration and spark that local action on the ground, but everything that we do is about improving quality of life. Our work with local government is focused again on building capacity, thinking about how to support efficiency in local government operations and build towards innovative practices. And we do that through technical assistance, professional development, training, and other services. We've worked with these communities recently on strategic planning efforts, as well as board retreats and budget retreat sessions. Neighbors, Granite Quarry, the city of Aldermen, we just finished their 3-year strategic plan. We've also worked in communities in Gaston County to do this work as well. And the team that will be working with you over the next few months is myself, my colleague Emily, and our colleague Kelly. So you'll be seeing the 3 years process. Now I'm going to turn it over to Emily to talk a little bit about what is strategic planning and what does that mean for local government.
Thank you, Geraldine. Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. It is so good to be with you this evening, and thank you for allowing us time on the agenda. In your agenda packet, I believe Madison included a couple of handouts. So I'm going to be talking about the one that looks like this on the front. It says Strategic Planning Overview. Does everyone have that at their fingertips? So the purpose of creating this handout was in case you're new to a strategic planning process. This is something that's kind of a quick reference sheet for the different components of strategic planning. And I have some extra copies if that would be.
It's page 110.
110. Page 110. So the purpose, as I said, is if you're maybe a little new to strategic planning, this is a quick reference sheet that you can kind of keep close at hand as we work with y'all over the next handful of months. And what it does, what you can see on your sheet is that we bullet out a few pieces of information at the top, which are the benefits of why a local government would go through with a strategic planning process. Are important, but I think the first two particularly setting a clear vision for the board, the town staff, and for the community about where you want to see land use kind of where you want land use to be in a number of years, and really to build trust with the public and transparency. So this process can really help help y'all in that way. So as you can see, there are several keywords on this sheet that you will hear throughout the next 6 or 7 or 8 months or as this project unfolds. One is vision, one is mission, another is values. Flipping over on the back side of the sheet, it continues on with goals, strategies, and annual budget priorities. So throughout this process, as we meet with the board and staff, these are words you're going to hear regularly. So I'm not going to read through this handout this evening because we will have time during the process to revisit this. But this really outlines, the first page really outlines the foundation of strategic planning, which is establishing the vision first, mission, and values. That is your cornerstone foundation pieces to the whole process. As you flip over to the back to the where it says plan details, getting into the goals, the next level of detail down after you have your foundation laid. Then strategies is more detailed and goals, and then finally your annual budget priorities are kind of the most detail to get into. And so you can kind of see at the bottom of the second page, there's an inverted pyramid with the foundation at the top, goals, strategies being the next level of detail, and then budget priorities. So this is kind of how this sheets out from broad to most narrow on the back. Are there any questions about this? Okay. Another very, very important component to strategic planning, which is in blue on the second sheet, is monitoring and evaluation. So you've done all this work, great work to put a plan together, and then what? You've got to put some mechanisms in place to monitor, like how are you doing, and then to evaluate. And just to kind of pull something out, the evaluation piece is really conducted by the board on an annual basis. So that's just something for y'all to kind of keep in the back of your heads. And the further we go along in the process, we'll get further into detail about what that actually looks like. Okay. With that, I think I'll hand it back to Jody.
So we had the opportunity to spend some time in Landis a couple weeks ago. We interviewed a few of the board members and spoke to the manager. We asked everyone a series of same questions. We want to know a little bit about your service as elected officials. We also want to ask you a little bit about your vision and what you saw as the opportunities and the challenges, as well as your experience in strategic planning. So I'd like to do is just summarize a few of the insights from those conversations. So the first question that we asked, or these are the three questions: what is your vision for Landis in 10 years? Where are the greatest opportunities for the town and the greatest challenges? So the first question on vision, there was a lot of synergy and similar thoughts across the individuals we spoke with. This idea of a vibrant town center, whether that's on Central Avenue or on Main Street, with businesses and activities. The theme of quality infrastructure to serve the town was pretty much said by all. Active parks and recreation amenities that serve town residents, but also draw people to the community, was said quite often. Connecting your system to the thread trail, thinking about services that are offered to residents, and Landis being a town of choice, that people choose to live here and come into this community as a place to be proud of, and a well-run town with efficient systems and using technology. So those are some vision opportunities. In terms of the assets you have now in this community and thinking about how to capitalize on those assets for those future visions, great active recreation and parks access, building on that. Thinking about how to attract more visitors to the community for active recreation, getting them to stay, to shop, to dine while we're here. Leveraging new residential development coming into the community. You have town-owned property, you've got a new exit off of the highway, and you've got great proximity in terms of your location in a growing region. In terms of challenges, there's always two sides. There's opportunities and challenges. You've limited land for growth. The current condition and future capacity of infrastructure was mentioned as a challenge on several occasions. Thinking about how to build trust. How do you to growing the town, but also being mindful of current utilities and agreements. How to think about the future school capacity, even though that's not in your hands as a town board. Certainly people who come to the town know that they need to have a great place for their kids to go to school. And then balancing the need for new services to serve town residents with limited revenue sources. That's a challenge that many towns face in the region. So what we would like to do now is talk a little bit about one of the first ways to get input into this very important process that you're undertaking. Community surveys are used throughout the country by local governments to do several different things. First, it's a great way to engage with your public, to take their pulse on how they're feeling about different issues in the town, with their vision, with their understanding of opportunities and challenges. It's also a way to receive a broader set of input from people who may not be able to come to regular meetings or communicate with you all in the regular channels. It's an opportunity for them to have their voices heard. It also, if it's designed and administered correctly, can help build trust and relationships. And some communities use this survey mechanism to benchmark their improvements over time. You can do a survey and then the next year survey the same question and see how things might change. So good survey practices, which we will be using in this process, have to be short. People don't have the time to answer 15 or even 20 questions. Each question has to have a purpose. We need to think carefully about how the input will be used in this process or used for benchmarking town services and operations. Clear consistency in how the questions are designed and the choices is really important. It can't be confusing format. People get frustrated and they won't want to participate. And it's also good to balance the special questions that you might have for a strategic planning process with replicable service-oriented questions that you can track year over year. We do recommend some demographic questions in order to make sure that as the results are coming in, we're hitting a representative sample of your survey components, and we'll be working with her team to finalize this before it's distributed at the end of the month. Some demographic questions, again, to ensure that representative sample. Town governance and service questions. These are on a satisfaction rating, a 5-point satisfaction rating. We use standard questions from a national community survey tool. So these are survey questions that have been professionally written and designed. There's no survey bias in how those questions are designed. We'll also have a similar set of town quality of life questions, also from a national community survey standard. And then we'll have a few questions related to this effort on the strategic plan. What's your vision of Landis in the future? How would you describe it today? And what are your priorities for future investment? So let me just pause there and see if there are any questions from the board on the survey. And it's important to make sure that the survey is disseminated in many different formats. So we'll have a paper-based survey, we'll have an electronic survey, we'll work with the town administration on the dissemination of the survey and promotion, and also making sure that if folks need assistance in completing the survey, if they've never done a survey before and they want someone to walk them through the choices, if they have any kind of accessibility requirements, that is accommodated here at Town Hall. Any questions about the survey? It'll be open for about 30 days, and that will be a really important input into this process. All right, I'm going to turn it back to Emily to talk about the process itself.
Okay, so the second handout you have in your packet is reddish orange in coloring. Page 113, page 2. And this is the proposed process timeline for the strategic planning process that the town will engage in between now, today, and the end of the first quarter of 2023. If everyone is on that page, you've seen their presenting on.
I am. I'm looking at the calendar.
Okay. So here we are presenting kind of the introduction this evening. As Geraldine just mentioned, the survey will launch at the end of the month and will be open for a month. And we will get all that input via SurveyMonkey, and we'll do all the analysis and we'll reflect back to you guys what we hear. Probably the next time we're with you. But as just an overview, kind of looking at this handout, any of the text is italicized, refers to work that Central Lino will do, and also work that we'll do in conjunction with staff and the leadership team, and then in preparation for next meeting. But the big point of this sheet is to show y'all about when the survey is going to happen, and also so you can get a sense of when we will be back with y'all as board. And it is up, we need to iron out the details with Diane, and she can work with you guys to figure out if meeting with y'all before this meeting or at a separate meeting would work, so we can work those details out. But so you can see, as I walked through a second ago, we're starting with mission and vision and values and goals and strategies. This is how the schedule is laid out on this sheet. So it follows that kind of from broadest to more detailed. So the dates we will iron out, but you can see the different focus areas for different parts of the sessions we'll have with you guys. And looking at after the turn of the calendar, February is our goal for handing a draft into manager, and then hopefully in March we'll come before you guys for a decision. Are there any questions about the timeline?
Do you want to take time this evening to talk about these dates, or how do you want to address that?
So these dates are our regular scheduled meetings, every month. So, we can meet before, we can meet after. What are your thoughts? Before?
Four's fine.
I'm good.
Before, okay, so before,
How much time would we need? 5 o'clock?
It might change over time depending on the meeting. The first meeting, we might need an hour and a half, 2.
we can do that.
Well, our meetings are usually 6, right?
Right, but like today, we had a
Okay.
6:30 meeting, so if we need an hour and a half for the first one, we'll make our regular scheduled meeting for, October the 10th, let's start at 6:30.
And so we would have the chunk of time before.
Yes, from
6:30.
5 to 6:30.
Okay, so you want to start at 5, not at 4:30?
No, I don't think the Alderman Feld can get here then.
Okay,
Yeah, I need to be at
no, that's
4:30.
fine, that's fine.
That's great. And then maybe we can go from there for the November and so on. We can, and just see, depending what our agenda development looks like, it might not need to be 2 hours.
Okay.
Any other questions there, or members of the board, or?
Not at this, I don't have any at this time. Anyone else?
Well, thanks all so much for your time, and we really look forward to working with the town and the board and the staff on this process, so thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hit that button one more time.
Oh, hold on.
She's behind you. All right, at this time, we will move to, 4.3, fire truck update. Well, it's 4.2 on our paperwork, but in our agenda, I have it as 4.3.
It is 4.3.
It's flip-flopped. It's page 65 and 66.
The fire truck update is on page 114.
Well, I have page 65.
65.
It's because you got what they printed for you on Friday.
Oh.
We received ours
I
prior to this
apologize. Okay.
presentation, so
Okay.
we're going off of that and have plugged it into what we have.
Okay.
That is why it's 4.2 in ours and 4.3 on this.
Okay. So, before I left on vacation, the mayor had asked to include in this, meeting tonight an update on our fire truck. But as you know, fire trucks are very expensive, and likely the most expensive purchase the town makes outside of new buildings or changes to existing structures. The truck that we are ordering will be custom designed to meet the needs of our specific department and to allow for storage in our existing bay. The limitations of our building are part of the reason that we have to order a custom truck. Our bay is, unique and sized, to be a little bit smaller of the fire trucks, and the length. It's a little bit, shorter than some other, fire stations, and so therefore we need to make sure that we can accommodate providing safe and appropriate housing for the vehicle. Please be assured that we are moving through this process with great care and diligence. Director Laschetti has put together a committee comprised of volunteers, part-time and full-time employee types that we have within the department. This committee has written a preliminary request of features, style, and design for the apparatus. This information has been presented to 4 manufacturers, KME, Pierce, Seagrave, and Steuben. Each manufacturer has been, tell me again, I'm saying it wrong. Stuffin, I'm saying it wrong. Stuffin. Stuffin. I am murdering that person's, or that particular manufacturer, and I apologize for that. They are actually one of the most high-quality producers of fire trucks in the country, and I do apologize for not being able to pronounce their name. The manufacturer has been on site to meet with the committee, ask questions, and get the information needed to engineer the fire truck. We are now in the engineering stage of the process. We expect to receive drawings and pricing in the next month or so. At that time, the committee and Director Luchetti will determine what to bring to me as a recommendation. This may involve going back to the manufacturers a number of times. Once all the answers are minimum requirements, the RFP must be advertised for a minimum of 7 days prior to the bid opening. We will post the RFP information on our website and in a local newspaper. The official bid opening is held in the boardroom at a date and time noted in our publications. Our goal is to bring to you a staff recommendation for your December meeting. Please be assured that the recommendation from staff will be well researched, studied, and reviewed by the appropriate local experts to ensure the best use of funding, and that the purchase results in an apparatus that will meet the need of the department for a foreseeable future. Do you have any questions? At this time, does anybody have any questions? All right, we will move to 4.4. Infrastructure award from the state. Thanks to the hard work by the mayor, public works, and our finance director, the town of Landis has been awarded $4.2 million through House Bill 103, the 2022 Appropriations Act, to use for water and sewer infrastructure improvements. The mayor worked closely with our state representatives, Senator Carl Ford, Congressman Harry Warren, and Congressman Julia Howard, to get our needs in front of the correct people to provide funding. Thank you to all of our representatives for their help in making this happen. I also want to personally thank Trace Norwood, Joe Halliburton, and Chris Ritchie. Joe and Chris brought in video and photos to show the current state of our crumbling infrastructure. That information and put together a presentation that was viewed by the state legislature to finalize the budget appropriations for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. We will discuss our proposal for these funds later in our meeting tonight. You have in your package a copy of House Bill 103, and I do just want to also send out a special thank you to the mayor for all she did to initiate the proposal and to make sure it be approved.
All right, at this time, we'll move to 4.4. Oh, no, hold on. 4.5.
So I know as citizens, we had road paving happening in the spring. Everyone was in the camp and was somewhat excited about seeing trucks providing improvements to our roads throughout town. At that time, we had thought that the group providing that would be back in town for the fall to do additional resurfacing. I am not sure that's going to happen. I talked to John Ryan at the NCDOT, and he said that the date has likely changed. He also helped me to understand a little bit more how timing works when we partner with the NCDOT. When contracts are over $5 million, they are awarded in writing and provide an 18-month timeline for completion. That amount of time brings down the cost because it gives contractors flexibility in scheduling. This flexibility is what is now causing a delay for us. We were originally scheduled this fall, but now there is no confirmation of time for start or completion. John has agreed to let me know as soon as he has a date. The remaining work on this contract will be a mill and overlay process that involves digging up the existing paving and providing basically a new surface. Streets remaining on this contract include East Rice Street from South Central to South Corral, South Corral from East Rice to South Chapel, South Beaver from East Mills to East Ryder, Highland Avenue from South Main to West Fifth, and South Zion from West First to West. I have also requested including South Mariah from West Ridge to West Ryder. Thank you to all of our citizens for their patience in waiting for paving to be done in partnership with NCDOT. This partnership enables us to improve more of our roads at one time than if we contract independently. And you'll see in your package, and you can see it on the website as well, a map that shows all of our roads that will be impacted. Are there any questions?
All right, we will move to old business, 5.1, sound and audio equipment. I'll kind of take the rein on this one. We had discussed in our previous meeting, the sound and audio equipment for the boardroom. We had looked at this proposal. We were, I guess, told that it wasn't gonna work, the streaming wasn't gonna work. So we did some of this stuff. So I'm taking that streaming is working with our website, with Granicus. I think that we need to discuss what our options are. If we want to rewire the place, what we want to do. I will tell you that the two 65-inch Samsung TVs, I do think are appropriate for the. I think that it would make, obviously, presentations easier for us to view and for our citizens to view, and people here in the boardroom. Outside of that, it's up to you guys. That's just, that would be my recommendation for the TVs. I'm not saying we have to work off this, but I would say that we need to do that. And I think that we have to pay for it out of board funds. I just think that it needs to one item, two things that we need to probably invest in. It is 2022. What are your thoughts?
So Diane, so this would eliminate the projector screen, all this stuff.
Yeah, the two TVs are based on.
Can you please?
Oh, sorry.
The two Samsungs, based on this proposal, would be flat screens, extending arms on either side of the chamber. There would be one facing the board that would twist out from the wall, and then there would be another facing the audience that would turn out from the wall. And you know, this side that faces the board TV may not be on this side. You know, the plan.
How do y'all want to move forward? We tabled this last time, so we can ask for a different bid for just the TVs to be installed. We can scratch this all together and start something new. We can talk about doing this out of a different budget line item. We just kind of need to know where you guys are what you guys are thinking.
Are you saying just the two TVs?
Well, I'm saying that I do think off of this estimate that we were given, the two TVs are a good idea. And what I would visualize is that there would be a TV right there for whoever's standing at the end. It would flip out to where everyone over here sitting could see what they are speaking on. So where tonight, when Mr. Flo is showing his map, it's a handheld piece of paper. It would be on the TV screen, sized appropriately to where it could be, moved out to where the citizens could see that are here in our meeting. And then on this side, it would, turn to us. And while he's speaking over there, we can watch over here to what he is saying. They can mirror those images to where if he has, say, some type of cursor that he's moving across, the cursor would be mirrored on both sides to where we can see exactly what he is showing the citizens. I do think that is something that would be beneficial to our boardroom, but I'm not saying we have to go with this quote. I'm saying I do think TVs would be beneficial. Whether that be for in here, planning board, whether that be for anybody that comes in here and does a presentation, to whoever it may be.
As long as it meets the issues that we're continuously having and it resolves those issues, a facet of whatever line item of it's coming out of off the budget, whether it's the mayor alderman expense fund or whether it's the fund balance, to me is irrelevant, as long as it fixes the issues moving forward.
But I guess the question would be is I'm going to direct this at you. We were told that it wasn't going to stream until we fixed this, right?
No, that is not what we were told.
Well,
You were told that this whole proposal would improve the ability to operate in a different environment. It would change that you don't have wires covered up on the floor. It would move everything underneath. I was under the impression when we developed this proposal that there was a desire by the mayor or the board to grade and change how your boardroom, and that would involve your speakers, involve how the sound system works within this room, and it would involve how all of those things communicate together. All of those things communicate together. That involves changing more than just adding. What's happening with your internet connection tonight is working because the internet is working. We are also working to try and find out. We have had a little bit of a difficulty getting back with the provider and provide us with a different type of service for internet. We are waiting to hear back from them on that. That would change what your reception is. If we are able to get what used to be you probably saw months ago when there were vehicles in town installing fiber optic. If we can get a fiber optic connection straight into here, that will change the level of service. That is different than this proposal here. I think that there was some concern. There was some concern last time on the fact that part of our presentation being presented online, there was some discussion by the mayor and the board that if we had different types of devices in here, it would change how that internet reception was received. We have discussed that, and I don't know that with the current, I think it would take changing to a fiber optic connection that's hardwired as opposed to what we have currently. We don't know whether we can do that yet or not.
I was told by Ms. Powell that we would have to have our own internet over here to make that internet stronger. That they would put like its own connection here, like this would become its own deal instead of feeding off of town hall. That's what would make it stronger. Now, I don't know about fiber optics. When we mentioned that, I don't think that we knew anything about that. I'm just going off the day after when I tried to get a little bit more information, because when we initially talked, it was about TVs, and knowing that Mr. Flo would like to have those, I mean, I think they would look better than obviously what we are doing now.
Well, the reason this is expanding to make sure that your sound system is working the way it should be working. We took a field trip up to China Grove and looked at what they had. We looked at what their speaker system brings. It makes it to where you have one that all talks to each other. I don't know how to describe this any better than to say what you have is a mishmash of equipment that was constructed to meet a need, but it's somewhat over-engineered. I mean, Amber may can speak to it more than I can because she deals with it more regularly, but what we were told by the experts is that some of the systems that we have are not bad systems. They just don't talk to each other the best that they could. And we can get some money for the systems that we currently have. There's just a better option to provide you with one complete system for this particular room. Now that is because I thought you wanted to change that, and maybe I misunderstood that. But I just wanted you to understand that your internet connection here has not changed since last month, and I don't know of a way to change that except by getting a different type of service. And we are trying to get a bid on being able to do that, or to find out if that is available.
That seems to be, that, I mean, that having internet, whether it's a different server or modem over here, a different part, you know, hardwired connection here versus down hall, that's the easy part to get out with the provider. Issue more, my personal reason for why I suggested the table last month was from the fund that can be paid from. However, really at the end of the day, there's other ways of skinning a cat and taking care of our budgetary issues. If there's items that we want to do with that's $8,700 from the mayor and alderman's fund later on, there's other ways of getting that money too. If we're going to continue, I think it's going to improve the audio visual portion of it for several different reasons, for the issues we all know around Miss Cherry, and having that properly, you know, propagated by, you know, audio visual consistency for those that are watching online. You know, if we're going to do away with online, then it might not be fruitful. But I'm okay moving forward as initially proposed.
I'm for that. Moving forward. I'm good with it coming out of the mayor always line.
Mr. Everett?
How's it running tonight? Video, YouTube, whatever we're doing.
He's speaking to microphone, sir.
On the video, YouTube.
It appears on our live streaming on the website that it's running smoothly. I have someone checking it for me from, you know, outside of the boardroom. YouTube, I don't know. I have it set up as a backup, but from our live streaming from our website, it seems to be working pretty good.
Talk about fiber optic might solve the whole problem. Why not wait and make sure about that? We always go on a different road. We don't get the total picture of these things.
Is the town doing any service with Windstream or Connected?
Kinetic is who we are talking
That is
about.
the fiber optic people, and
Yes,
their line's got to be here. They ran it in my son's house. They don't know what he wide open, but whatever.
I know we have called them like daily for a couple of weeks, and we are having trouble getting anyone to respond to us. So I'm just going to put that on out there.
I agree, because I'm having the same issue at my house. So there is an issue.
So do you want to table it till we have a more concrete answer on kinetic?
I mean, in theory, we could, and that's not going to harm anything. It's not going to change our current situation. It's just a, you know, postpone it probably.
I mean,
I'm not
$5 million equipment, if the internet ain't here. I want to go, I want to get on this concrete floor. They can come over here. They can't get on this concrete floor, run wires. This, but you can't get out right there in the carpet. But they'd probably run across the dam, have a pole in the middle of the road. Have a pole somewhere.
I mean, I personally think we should get 2 TVs and a booster and see what kinetic says. I understand we have a hodgepodge of things, but before we spend, what if that solves it? Maybe it doesn't.
Maybe it doesn't. In lieu of being just overly cautious of throwing $8,700 out into the wind, I'd be okay with, you know, taking Mr. Poyer's advice and statement of seeing if we can get, you know, something hardwired in here to improve what we currently have. Do we need upgrades in here as it stated on the quote estimate? I do. I think we do. However, I'm not opposed to holding out on, you know, get The, the internet, available and stronger internet service and
Particular, estimate does not address your internet situation.
Right.
But that should be, I don't know what happens when you deal, I don't know what happens when you deal with Kinetic, when we actually get to talk to them about what we have to pay for versus they install the service. So, you know, is that something that they do because we're gonna pay them every month? I don't know how that works yet.
I would also like to note that roughly half of this proposal is on the TVs and the parts required to make them usable for our for our presentation alone. For those two TVs, as you can see here, it's quoted at $1,000 for two TVs. That's $2,000. About $425 in additional parts for the HDMI and the splitters, including the two wall brackets, and $2,000 for the associated labor. So half of that is just for the TVs itself. If we're talking about savings as opposed to, if we're talking about saving by foregoing the audio and microphone adjustments that are listed in this proposal, we would be looking at a savings of potentially $4,300 based on this proposal.
So I have a question. When it says white flush mount speakers with trays and new wiring fixed, right?
Yes.
So okay, so that's speaker. So where in there are microphones?
You're gonna use your existing microphones.
There's a mic mixer here with the laptop control and the new wirings for the microphones as well. That's included here.
Oh, it says over here, over through the ceiling, Mr. Evergas. Pull old equipment and put in the town's hands to sell, rerun all of the mic cables under the floor if possible, or up over the through ceiling.
And my suggestion, in a lieu of time, it's not gonna hurt it other than maybe some adjustment, et cetera. But I see no harm in waiting to see if we can make improvements with the hard wiring of our internet provider, internet service currently, as to what Mr. Poirier mentioned.
Okay.
I move we table the same topic again to the month of September with anticipation of finding some resolve if we can improve our internet provider service in the board chamber.
Okay, I have one thing to, is there a way that we could find out what it would cost for us to put in the TVs, the HDMI splitters, and have Public Works put in, like, install the TV versus them?
So let Jack Legs work mess with this thing more. That's what the problem
Because
is
they're
now.
running into warranty
Hot
issues.
pods and stuff's been put in. Nobody knows what they did after they did it.
Okay.
I don't think we have the experience to be able to install those.
Okay. All right, then I have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, move on to old business asset distribution policy.
Mr. Norwood will speak about the asset disposition policy if you have any questions.
All right, are there any questions at this time for Mr. Norwood?
I'm not sure that I have a specific question, maybe an observation, a comment, through, some comments that I've heard from, privately from citizens, and also in my own opinions as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, that some of this is governed by general statute, correct?
That's correct.
And which category is that? Anything 30,000 and up? Is that real and personal property?
No, for real property, board involvement is always required, statutorily, as it has to be declared, surplus by the board, a resolution has to be drafted, and, then a number of requirements have to be met for the disposition of real property, buildings, and land. Where the flexibility lies is in surplus property, and the standard threshold for that statutorily is $30,000. Beyond $30,000, it becomes a formal disposition, and board is generally always required. It's always restricted. It's also restricted based on the ways that the assets can be disposed of, by public auction, through upset bids, or through sealed bids. Below $30,000 it's an informal disposition, and the board can delegate the authority of the award or disposition of that property to the manager up to that $30,000 threshold. Below that threshold, there's also a number of different ways that the assets can be disposed of, including private negotiation and sale.
My comments and opinions of surplus property, I've had a few contentious conversations with some citizens, me personally as an elected official, as to, that is town property, and that at whatever amount they think they were under the assumption, and I to some degree am, that any thousand that's proposed, I believe, should come before us in some manner publicly to say, hey, we're divesting this, even though it's under 15,000. I think it should have governing board approval far less than 15,000. So I don't know what that magic number is, and that was my point, or one of my reasons of why I just needed some more time to marinate, talk about it, consult with other aldermen that are here tonight. I don't know what that magic number is, but I would like to think that, either I would like any board moving forward, as our term is coming up in a year and a half, moving forward, I think any governing board official or board as a unit should know or have the final say of surplusing even a nominal piece of property that's being surplus. I'm not sure where the $15,000 mark came from. And was it based upon what is another policy?
It mirrors the procurement policy, which is current that the town has currently been using. So the existing procedure.
Probably at least that much or even lower, because I know of things happened in the past where stuff got gone. Well, who's gonna say it? How did they get that? What did they pay for that? Never could find out how they got it, what they paid for it.
So I will state that I think while Mr. Barefoot was here, he talked with you about, that's why we bring to you each month anything that has been dispersed and what it went for and who bought it and how we did that.
That's after the fact.
It is after the fact.
We need to know about it first
Okay.
before it's accepted. So we don't give a $50,000 fire truck away to somebody for $15,000. That's what it's all about.
Okay.
I do vary in opinion from the standpoint of one way on assets that are being surplus versus procurement, maybe differently than my other board members, but I do think that threshold mark or that floor that minimum mark, anything over X, I just innately feel that the governing board of any entity should have the final decision of surplusing even something that's de minimis. You know, I don't know what that magic number is, about $500, $1,000, $5,000. I'm not sure, convince me otherwise. I think 15,000, even though it's consistent with the procurement number, I just think it needs to be less than that and let the governing board at the recommendation of management, then have that final say, since it's assets that are being bought with town money.
I just want to make sure I'm clarifying here. What we have before us is the asset disposition policy. So these aren't assets that are being bought. These are assets that are being sold.
That's correct.
Okay.
But there is that limit, or on the procurement side, town manager currently has the authorization of 15, of making any purchases up to that amount.
Yes.
And I understand that probably was a driving reason of making it consistent on this current asset or this proposed asset disposition policy, but unfortunately, I'm not sure that I could approve that just under the general circumstance. Any property that's being surplus, I think the board in an open meeting should be presented with that. Now, what that threshold is, I'm not sure. Do I agree with the component of the asset disposition? Yes, but the amounts on page 127 are what I'm not sure that I can say that I agree upon. I mean.
So do you want to set because we can bring to you a list of things that would be up for disposal. But when we do that, you want to set the amount for which the reserve is. Is that what you're saying?
I hadn't thought about it that way, but,
because if we bring it to you ahead of time, we don't know where we can put it on gov deals, but we don't know what it's going to bring.
I think that would accomplish really what my opinion is, of being able to set, that reserve so that we're not selling something for less than, is it better for us to keep it versus selling it at an extreme discount, or at a value that's less than $15,000, and we have riff over truly a $5,000 or $10,000 discussion. I wouldn't want that. I don't want that to happen. And I think, in all transparency, with where Landis has been, with where we want to go in the future, with everything that was discussed tonight, and all the positive things we have moving forward for us at many departments, and as a whole, as a growing, healthier, more productive town, I just think this will align well with that communication effort, transparency effort. So then that way, ultimately, the governing board is disposing of anything we give our blessing on from that is in that surplus element. And at the end of the day, it's, we are the final buck until we roll off or others are elected.
So what you're saying is bring all surplus items before the board, and then we would set the reserve upon each item if agreed upon to surplus it.
I mean, unless, or we can set something. I just think the $15,000, I think that $15,000.
So do you want to give them
value
a land? So anything less than $1,000, 500. Where are you going?
And that's what I don't have any secret sauce to calculate that.
Right.
I would say $1,000.
To me, they could set what they think it's worth. We would have final. So whether we took that off, that's what I want.
So then you want it brought to the board with a estimation, but that is. I think how it is done is that would be setting the reserve, that you do not want it to sell less than $10,000.
So then if that's what you say, they could put it out there with a reserve of 10,000, not to exceed 80,000, whatever it may be. But if you're saying you want it not to go less than something, you've got to set the reserve. That's what's got to be in something. Is that not?
Well, I don't think that there's a way for us, we can bring it to you to ask permission to get rid of it, but if you don't set the reserve, we don't determine.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's not gonna be productive. It's counterproductive. So then you've got to set a reserve.
If that's the case, then that would encumber all of which that would sit well with me as it relates to surplus disposition by us setting the reserve.
Okay, so what I'm gathering.
No, we sold the backhoe for $1.
It did happen. Okay, so let's move
But
on
did the
from
board
that.
want to sell it for $1?
Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so what I'm gathering, and I want to make sure that everybody is on the same page up here, that we're all understanding that you would like it to come to us at X amount of dollars, and you'll have to come up with that as a board. Anything less than, they have permission to sell. Everything else comes to us above that amount, and they come to us with what they think it is worth, and then we set the reserve. Is that where we're standing at this time?
I would move up forward with that.
Okay, so then let's come up with a price that if it is X amount of dollars or below, that they do not bring it to us. Are you wanting everything brought? I mean, if they go tomorrow and
I agree with that
sell.
statement that you just made, so.
Okay.
So
okay.
let's put that base floor,
Okay.
anything above that threshold,
Okay, what is,
we'll then set the reserve.
Okay.
That way, we're notified so that we can then say, yes or no, we're gonna surplus X, Y, Z piece of equipment.
Okay.
Or
what,
X, Y, Z.
okay, so what are you thinking on the number? Anybody?
I'm good with the way it falls a year. We've already voted on this one.
We never voted on on the amount, correct, Chase? Mr.
Not
Norwood?
specifically for asset disposition, a threshold has never been set for this town, no.
Yeah, we've never set a money amount.
I would be okay with $1,000 as the limit, so anything under 1,000.
You know how much stuff that's gonna be?
I understand. However, I think we owe that to our
It
citizens.
always change. This doesn't work out. I'm Mr. Stewart. $1,000.
And then above that, we can set the reserve.
Under 1,000,
There are milk trucks in this town that got gone for little nothing. That's backhoe like this, for $1. I don't think that, a lot of people have the experience setting on values. But
okay. So, under 1,000, anything over 1,000 to
Under
the
1,000,
board?
town manager should
Yeah.
have the authority to approve the sale of that. In that range.
And then to the board, and then set reserve. Okay, so I'm asking because I'm not sure. Do we need to table this and approve the policy and you bring it back to present?
Either can be done.
Okay. I guess if there's surplus items that need to be surplus, we need to move since we've set on it. Okay, do I have a motion?
Remember when I moved that we adopt the distribution policy with the text amendments that we have stated publicly.
All right, I'll go around the room. Mr. Overcash?
Yes.
Ms. Sales? No. Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Coyer?
yes,
Motion passes. We will move from old business to ordinance and resolutions under item 6.1.
The Beaver Park property disposition sale was read in June. We never advertised for that property. The date in the original resolution on practice. And having in package this evening a new resolution and advertisement for the property. Please consider approving the resolution. With this approval, we will begin advertising on our website tomorrow and in the Salisbury Post on Thursday. We will open bids September the 19th and deliver a recommendation for sale to you at your October meeting.
All right, do I have a motion for the Beaver Park property disposition / sale?
Mayor and Board, I move that we, decide upon resolution number 2022-08-15.
Do I have a second?
This is, offer for sale.
Yeah.
I second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, I'll go around the room.
I'm gonna go ahead and get back to reading.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second, Mr. Overcash, on the authorization of the sealed bid sale on the Beaver Street property. At this time, I'll go around the room. Mr. Stewart?
Yes, based upon the language, stated in the resolution, I am a yes.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Coyer?
Yes.
Ms. Sales? No. Mr. Evercash?
Yes.
Motion passes. We will move to 6.2, the termination of state emergency.
COVID had a significant impact on all of us. Therefore, this evening, we are officially celebrating an end to the state of emergency that was entered into with Rowan County in March of 2020 by the mayor on behalf of the town of Landis. Tonight, the mayor will officially terminate the state of emergency for the town of Landis. We are thankful to be in a healthier place. There's no action required. I just wanted to bring it to everyone for all transparency that this was requested to be completed by each mayor in the county.
I'm going to read it this time, the termination of the state of emergency. Whereas or around on March the 20th of 2022, as the mayor of the town of Landis, I determined and declare the state of emergency existent within the town of Landis. Whereas I have determined that the conditions constituting a state emergency no longer exist in the town of Landis. Now, therefore, I hereby terminate the above referenced declaration of a state of emergency and shall read restrictions on and orders contained there within. This declaration is immediately declared today, August the 15th. Mayor Fair. We'll move to number 7, consideration 7.1 upright sewer basin thing. I'll send that to Manager Secret.
The South Upright Street Sewer Basin Funding Project has been in the works for many years. Gary Flowers with Municipal Engineering worked with the previous Public Works Director to determine areas of greatest need in our sewer infrastructure. Smoke testing and flow metering were used to identify the South Upright Street Sewer Basin as an area that is currently contributing to significant quantities of inflow and infiltration. Not only does this decrease the performance of the sewer system, as important, it means we have rainwater infiltrating the system and being sent for treatment with our sewage material. This results in higher monthly costs to the town for sewer treatment. The project was originally scaled to replace 8,340 linear feet of 8-inch terracotta pipe and 35 manholes that were foraged sewer system in the town prior to 1956. The project was cut in half last spring and submitted for a grant to the Division of Water Infrastructure that required a town match of $500,000. The reduced project scope would assist in eliminating some of the issue and reduce the town contribution from $1 million to $500,000. From the attachments, you can see where this project was originally posted for bid on our website, and we discussed submission for the loan in July of last year. As a reference, Section 8 of the July 2021 board package contains additional material that may be of interest to you. Since that time, Mr. Flowers applied for us to participate in a different program that would provide loan forgiveness for the project and expand it back to its original size. Unfortunately, we were not approved for that program. That brings us to where we are tonight. Please consider using 2.2 million awarded by the state to complete the original scope of work for the South Upright Street Sewer Basin Replacement Project. Gary Flowers has worked with the appropriate people at the Division of Water Infrastructure to confirm we can withdraw from the program that awarded half of the project last year and transfer the work to date to this project. That means that the original bidding process is still acceptable. With all said, please consider awarding this project to municipal engineering and authorizing me to sign the procurement certificate dated August 2nd, 2021. Gary has confirmed that this award is acceptable for the $2.7 million scope. So in essence, we're asking you to agree to fund to use 2.7 of the 4.2 million and then to award the project to municipal engineering and authorize me to sign the procurement certification.
So the 4.2 million came from
The state.
the state that we just got,
Yes,
okay? And the remaining money, what will that go to?
that we're going to talk about
Okay.
for in the next thing. No,
Sorry,
that's
sorry,
okay.
Let's say, you got a water line coming real soon.
Any discussions, sir? Ms. Stevens?
I would just say, I think the South Upright Street Sewer Basin project's been on the books and talked about for a long time.
All about
And
this 10 years.
unfortunately, for the effort of many, unfortunately, Mayor Smith, we have these funds available, and kudos to everyone involved. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we consider funding method, this funding, and that we authorize managing the authority to sign the procurement certification.
Right, we'll get it from Alderman Phil. At this time, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Now, did we also include in there awarding it to municipal engineering?
Yes, then that you can sign.
Okay, and then we will move to 7.2 is consider a new water tower funding. Okay, the second portion, that will use most of the remaining money from the 4.2 million. Staff is recommending tonight that we consider a new water tower. The reason for that is that the state has required a storage level for each municipality that is based on average daily demand. Our current tank holds 100,000 gallons. With our current demand rate, we should be storing 166,000 gallons. Our current shortage of storage capacity and continued growth at a level that will increase our demand puts us at a point of needing to add an additional water tower. So we need to be cognizant of the fact that we are growing in multiple areas. That's going to increase the demand for water, which means we are more out of compliance than we currently are. So we would like to consider adding an additional water tower.
Where would it be?
That will be determined, if you decide to move forward with this, we would then go to the appropriate engineer to determine based on roads, based on how water flows and all of the variables that engineers figure out where the best place to put the water tower would be, and we would come back to you at that point for approval on where to place it.
Anyway, we make the developers pay for it.
We've done the study in the past where it said it would go down on 4th Street. You remember that one, Tom?
Mhm. I think that might have been before my time.
Right. Now, I got a question. If we get our water from Kannapolis and we can get all we want whenever we want, does that still affect how much we got to store?
Yes, it does, because we've had a couple of situations in the past 3 or 4 months. If something happens to water flow, let's say something happens in the Kannapolis system, then we still need to be able to provide water for a certain amount of time. That can only be provided by the amount that we have stored. So if we have a main break somewhere, or we have something happen within our system, or if our provider has something happen, we need to have enough stored to be
be able to continue to have that service.
$1 million gallon tank that we shut down.
Do we have option up in Salisbury for Salisbury valve? If in the case of a severe emergency. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're taxing our system already without the proposed future development.
Any estimates what a tank costs?
We are proposing 1 to 2 million, and then that would leave you with 300,000 that we would like to leave in as a contingency for any one of those projects should they overrun.
It's
What is the water structure over here? Is it not able to be used? Does that town, Public Works?
That tank,
Mm-hmm.
once it's on the ground.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm asking a question.
That's
Maybe
They have
she said,
pumps.
could it be used?
Yeah, that's my question. I
I've
mean,
never been in it.
can you put the reserve in there? I mean, I don't know, I'm asking a question. We have
They're
something
gonna tear it
that
apart.
sits
Tear it up
there.
to
I mean,
we stopped that. That was what would be done. We stopped that. It can be sandblasted.
I really don't know, I'm just asking a question.
The water tower that's at Public Works.
Yeah, I feel that,
Tank.
the
on the
tank.
ground.
Sit on the ground.
$1 million gallon tank.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, I just feel that citizens will ask us that because they drive by there and they see it. I don't know who's not speaking into the microphone.
I could not understand Tony.
Can you please speak into the microphone?
Straight into it.
I have not looked
People
at,
look at it and tell us.
I mean, I don't know, I'm
I
just
have not-
asking a question.
I haven't looked at the tank at the Public Works
I'm not
building.
discounting the aerial tank that was been on top about to the side of that road, but we got that $1 million gallon tank. People tell us whether it would be a benefit or not.
I can certainly
Yeah.
research that and find out what it would cost to make it active again, and if we have lines going to it, that type of
And
thing.
it may not be what they want. I mean, I'm just asking, since it's there, could it be refurbished, could it be used? I feel that citizens, if they're watching this, if there's a Salisbury Post article, they're gonna ask us. And
Sure, absolutely, I can
try
try
to
to see
get
what.
that information.
We get an answer, yea or nay.
Well, I mean, a lot of your comments, I think your comments were valid. However, there is a distinct purpose for water towers, pressure, flow, et cetera.
Right, I mean, I don't
However,
disagree.
so I have no other comments other than
But it
making a motion
says
for
that
us
we
to.
should be storing 166. It doesn't say that, I mean, I'm figuratively, could we put 66,000 over there and it would go into effect whenever we needed it? I don't know. I'm definitely not in the water department, so,
Don't leave us in there for 6 months and send it to my house.
oh, yes, sir. Uh-huh. Straight.
How did that tank work, Tony? Did they,
Have a big pump.
it had to be pumped, that stuff may be,
Our plant used to have a water tank,
Mhm.
and it rotted out, and tore it down.
Well, they have a water tank right here.
Um,
I mean, I know, I'm just saying, everybody, I think all of them have their own. Oh, geez, let's not talk about that. Okay, so do I have a motion to consider the funding with the, questions about the water tank at Public Works?
Mayor and Board, I move that we consider approving $1.2 million of the state funds for an additional water tower, also granting authority to the speaker for moving forward with the process.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor? We will now move to 7.3.
Okay. So, please find attached bids for a new in-house cascade system for the fire department. This equipment was discussed as part of the presentation requesting a new fire truck and approval for the sale of other apparatus. The sale of the brush truck was $40,000, was designated to be used for an in-house cascade system to replace the one currently on our squad that has been approved for sale. Please consider approval of the bid from Safe Air Systems for $45,137.55 and the accompanying budget amendment to move the proceeds from the brush truck to capital outlay. The budget amendment also uses funds from savings on the police pack to fund what is not covered by the brush truck sale. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, do you have any questions at this time?
Mayor and Board, I move that we approve budget amendment number 2 for 2022 through 2023.
I'll second that. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Mr. Evercash, how did you vote, sir?
No.
Okay, so that is a tied vote. Yay. Motion passes. I do have one question. Where will that be housed?
In the fire department.
Here or over there?
Here.
Okay. Did it say that and I missed it? I don't think it did, right?
I don't think it said it.
I just want to make sure. Okay, point 4.
Each year in the beginning of the fiscal year, we discuss a meeting calendar and a meeting calendar. Please take a few minutes to determine if the schedule works for the majority of the board. So you have your meetings that are falling on the second Monday of each month, with the exception March the 20th and April the 17th, which are rescheduled or proposed for rescheduling due to the Rowan Salisbury school spring break and the Easter holiday. There's also a schedule, and it will be posted on our webpage, so our citizens will know when the bank drafts are posting, when the cutoffs are happening, and when your bills are due.
All right, do I have a motion to consider the meeting and billing calendar schedule?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move to 7.5.
7.5. The mayor and board have expressed an interest in replacing the trash cans on Central Avenue. Attached, you have information gathered by Mr. Robbie Shin, who I will be introducing to you later this evening for your review and recommendation. Funding for this purchase will come out of Mayor and Alderman expense line item. We currently have 4 cans in this area. With the new coffee shop, Stafford, and other new businesses moving in, staff recommends purchasing 6 new cans.
So I will say that I would hope that we would anchor them into the concrete. I know that the benches used to be anchored. I think that the 4 that are uptown are anchored. I'm not 10% sure, but they were at one time. So I would hope that we would anchor them if it's voted upon.
We will do our very best to do that. I don't know what will be involved in making that happen.
I don't either, but
Only problem I got a barber shop on South Street. Shouldn't he be allowed to have a trash can, he's a taxpayer? Shouldn't Luke's Corner be allowed to have a trash can, she's a taxpayer? Why is it just people uptown get a trash can? It's not fair.
But
Years ago,
that's our
there were people
business
uptown
district.
that argued. They thought the town should come inside their store and get their trash out, but they can't take it outside. And they were told, can't you pick it up, your trash can, they got to dump it in one on the sidewalk. So, it's fair, everybody needs a trash can.
But those are their
Businesses that have dumpsters don't get them, but regular business, like beauty shops, these ladies' houses, they serve trash cans.
I guess I thought the purpose of this trash can was for the folks that were visiting those businesses. It's for,
So don't people visit Luke's Corner?
That cruise-in events.
we have cruise-in events, we have we have cruise-ins, we have movies, we have a fall festival, we have a tree lighting, we have all different kinds of events that happen on Central Avenue. We're about to, start the process of Passive Park, which the park will have trash cans in it, I hope. I think that it's our uptown area. And because of that, it's what every town does. I mean, okay, at this time, is there any more discussion?
Well, if you want.
Well, I know, I'm just, if there's any more discussion, is there one particular trash can that you would particularly like? 117, page 118, page 119, or 120? If not, that I'm giving my suggestion for 117 or 120 would look more like what I think our uptown was.
Which one is that? Because our page numbers are different.
Oh,
I
are
have the
they?
updated page. I have the updated
Okay,
page.
I'm so sorry. I will go, I'm not sure how to tell you. Let's go with, Parkview 3, or Cassidy Plus. How did you know that?
That's the Cassidy Plus is what we have already, right?
No, we have stone, we have some, they're like pebble looking trash cans that are brown on the top, they're square.
Yeah.
Whatever you buy, you better buy something that's heavy. 'Cause I've dealt with this up here for 25, 30 years.
Yeah, I agree.
And they get tore up, they get pushed down, they get stolen, they get filled full of trash. People in the store comes out, fills them up, nobody ever uses them. I mean, they stuff, if they can get they can get a Christmas tree box, then if they gonna put it in.
Well, I can say for myself, walking Central Avenue, normally I try to walk every morning if it is pretty. They're full. I mean, we could probably take out the trash up there 2 times a day. People are up there. I would think the look would be Parkview 3 or Cassidy Plus, my opinion. At this time, I have a motion to purchase 6 trash cans for the Central Avenue.
I think we need to consider and take that a little bit further as to which one.
Okay, so I'm asking, what do you want?
I like the Cassidy Plus, given the options on the table and given the future needs, Passive Park, the events that we have through our parks and recs. I like the Cassidy Plus.
Oh, it says pre-drilled for surface mounting. It should. I like the Cassidy Plus. Me too. Mr. Overcash, do you have a preference? Okay, Mr. Poyer?
I can't see $1,400 for a garbage can. No, I couldn't do that.
Well,
And if people home have paid their garbage picked up.
okay, at this time, do we have a motion to purchase 6 Cassidy Plus models?
Mayor and Board, I move that we purchase 6 Cassidy Plus trash can models for our business district.
Let's second that. That's from Alderman sales. All right, all in favor? All opposed?
Nay.
I will break the tie with, yes, let's buy 6 Cassidy trash cans. We're gonna move on to 7.6. All right, I will take 7.6. Sinkholes have been forming around town, and particularly at 602 North Chapel. After going out there and looking, it's very dangerous for them homeowners.
Sinkholes?
There's sinkholes.
Okay.
The town has been out there to put plastic fencing around it, but the homeowners were told that it was their responsibility by someone with the town. The town has easement on this property. Now, I can't see everything on it. I talked to Mr. Walker about it, but on the 602 North Chapel, there's, on the deed, it says easement to the town of Landis, recorded in deed book 553, page 71 of the Rowan County Registry. Town obviously has an easement on that property because those pipes go all the way back to the, I guess there's like a small creek back there. But there are humongous rats in those holes, and it's sinking around the creek. Homeowners were told by a town employee that if they put dirt or try to fill it in, they would be responsible for the damage that it does to the road. That's one property. Another property, 321 Town Street. Theirs is more closer to the road. They have a sinkhole. You can see town pipes all in there. It looks like the pipe possibly broke and is just eroding the soil away.
It's deep.
We don't need to be responsible for someone losing their life, losing a child in these holes, or eventually the sinkhole's getting big enough to overtake a home, because the one on North Chapel can eventually get that big. Also, the property, there's another sinkhole. It's getting big. To the point where it's coming onto our property. We got to figure this out. I do know, I was told today that the state of North Carolina is handing money out for stormwater issues such as this. We need to be jumping on the bandwagon. We've got to get this stuff fixed. I mean, our citizens, they are owed this to get this fixed. More particularly going back to North Chapel, mosquitoes for the standing water over there, horrible. Horrible. We need to get this fixed. I feel like this is a town issue. Not a homeowner's issue. Town pipes. They're broken. I mean, I know, I don't know the answer, but we need to get this fixed.
This is the first I've heard of these locations, so I don't really know how to respond.
There's a swamp behind the Hager's property on North Chapel Street. The water stands in there year round. It gradually seeps across the curve down the street. And those storm drains weren't put in close enough on North Chapel Street. I tell you who the engineer was in charge of it. He lives in Lance. He also reduced the depth of the asphalt that whole street up through there when it was remodeled. And the asphalt continuously come wet because it wasn't done deep enough.
So
that drain, I'm thinking, is all the water comes off Chapel Street because it dips right there. But part of the problem is all that water coming off probably behind the Hager's because there's springs in there. It stays wet year round.
okay, so Ms. Phelps, can you tell us the property, please? The property on North Chapel belongs to the Grandos, which is beside Mr. and Mrs. Biddle's home. They've told me they've been up here to talk about this. The second property on Town Street belongs to Stanley and Brenda Sloop. About 6 months ago, they've been up here to talk to someone about it. And then the one on South Main.
So I am familiar with the Biddle property. I did not realize that was 602 North.
Well, they're actually 510, but the property that the holes are on is on 602. Mr. and Mrs. Biddle don't, that's not actually their property. Even though they keep it up, that's not their property.
Okay.
So, because their address is actually 510 North Chapel.
This is storm drain off Chapel Street. I think we're responsible.
So I can give you a little bit of background on what I've been told about these. These are not we may not have sinkholes in other areas, but we do have pipes that run off of the main road through an easement, and then it just dumps out into either a stream or a property, or we have these things that run all over town. From what I have been told, it was the opinion of the town that it was not our responsibility to maintain anything that was off of the road. Some of those, there's a long history about how those things became installed, who requested them, how, were they requested by the owner of the home, were they requested by the town? each one of those has a unique history to it. And I would caution you to be aware of the fact that it will not just be 602 North Chapel, 321 Town Street, and that it will be that, in my opinion, needs to be something that we look at and bring to you to determine how you want to handle those types of pipes on a consistent basis across the municipality, as opposed to just handling them as one-offs. And we would need direction. I think the direction that the individuals are receiving has been provided to them by possibly previous administrations, or who maybe they know those particular situations. I'm not saying that they don't need to be addressed. I'm just saying that I think you need to be aware of the Pandora box that you might be
But at the
opening.
same time, these are town pipes. Am I right or wrong?
I don't know if they're town.
Have you been out to these properties?
I have been told, I'm familiar with the Biddle property. I have not been there, but it was my understanding that they requested those pipes to be installed, and that the town helped get them installed.
The middle request that if it's on their property. Yeah, that property.
Wouldn't they have to agree to an easement?
Well, you agree to an easement, I don't know what the easement is. It says there's an easement. Until you pull that,
Mr. Locklear, can you please speak into the microphone?
you know, what you'd have to do is pull the easement and look, see what type of easement it is. Ms. Sells, you said that easement was where?
Talking about the deed book.
D book, yeah.
Deed book 553, page 71.
And I don't think it indicates whether it's a sewer, water, road, or what does it say about it?
I would like to be able to talk with Chris Ritchie in our water and sewer department, get a little bit more background on these particular situations, and then get the background on why he has taken the position that he didn't just decide to do this. There's been direction given to him by someone prior to me. That doesn't mean it's the direction that you may want to go forward with, but I think we need to at least get some history on it, and figure out the best, make a recommendation to you on how to move forward, or give you some options on what to do the best way.
All right, at this time, do I have a motion to, grant Ms. Seaford?
I can just report back to you next month if you'd like.
Yes, let's
Yeah.
start with that. That'll be
Okay,
our
well, I mean,
starting
I was
point.
just gonna get a vote, and just, you know, so,
Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's fine, it's however you want to. All right, we'll move to 8.2, or 8.1, sorry, I'm moving on, I guess. 8.1, sales of fixed assets.
Okay. Make sure, I think I'm all right. One second here. I actually have good news for you tonight. The only item sold on Gov Deals in July was the fire squad, which sold for $65,000. The proposal from the spring estimate, the sale would come in around $50,000. Combined with the brush truck, this puts us $5,000 above projections on the two vehicles. So that is where we are today. I do need some direction from you. We put those on Gov Deals based on the direction that you gave in the spring. And I don't know with the remaining items.
What is remaining? So it's,
Hold on.
we know we're,
Remaining,
You just spent all the brush truck money on the Cascade system.
that was told to us in the presentation when we originally voted on it. Well, we do.
Well, you got the squad money.
Correct.
Brush truck money gone.
Correct, but that was told to us originally in the presentation, the night of the ARPA funding presentation, that if we sold the
5 units.
the brush or the squad, sorry, okay, the squad, that we would have to do that. We three that voted for it knew that. It was in that presentation.
But you'd have to do what?
By a cascade system. That was in the presentation on the night of the ARPA funding. It was in the whole entire packet that if we sold it, how much it would cost, that if we got rid of this truck, what it would do, because at the time we were using said truck to do things. So we, and I speak for the three on that we knew that that money would be used for that. So we know that we are sitting at, I will say, 60 to the good.
Well, we're actually 65.
Well, I know, but then, there's a little overage and it's, we're talking
over somewhere else.
I know, but if we wouldn't have found it somewhere else, it was going to come from here. And in my mind, that's where it was coming from. So I am saying, Chase is like, I see where her brain's going. That is just where my mind was. So we are at 65 to the good towards a fire truck, along with the $300,000 from ARPA funding. So at this time, what is left?
Okay. I think
The Charger.
we have 442,
Mm-hmm.
and we have 581,
That should be it, right?
and the Charger.
Okay, so 442 is not going anywhere until we get, I'm just making sure everybody's on the same page. Okay, so 581 doesn't go anywhere yet until we get brand new apparatus here. 442, yeah, did I say 581? Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, 442 does not go anywhere until we have the new apparatus here, which could take up to 1.5 to 2 years, depending on who they choose. To bring us a quote, and then we would vote on that. So 581 can be posted again in the Charger. I do have a question on the Charger, just my own personal question. So you posted that, I think, at 45?
Yeah.
Okay. It's already marked, has all of everything in it to run a call, right? If they were to need that as say somebody came in, say we had a truck out of service or something like that, meaning like one of our chiefs or something had something out of service or getting something serviced, they could use that to run a fire call?
I don't know the answer.
Okay. Dr. Leschetti, could you come up for just a second? Let me ask you just a couple questions about that. Can it respond to a fire call if there is a truck already on its way? Like, it can be used with a fireman in it to respond to a call?
You're talking about the car?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a passenger sedan right now. Currently, as it stands, we utilize it as a backup vehicle, mainly as a personnel mover or a secondary medical responding unit.
Okay.
It's not a primary vehicle for us. We also recently took possession of the surplus truck from Public Works.
Correct.
So the idea was able to use the truck because that can pull the snow trailer.
Right.
And then haul hose and things that we need and serve the purpose that the car is currently holding. So,
okay. So can I ask this question just at 4,500 and to what we're going to have to buy is not a chunk of change? Would that be better utilized to keep? I mean, I'm just figuratively speaking here, so that when people go to classes or different things like that, they could use that versus the truck that's probably not as good on gas mileage.
So the thing I would like to do today is you have maintenance upkeep on that car and on the truck. And we'll be looking at tires, oil changes, the basic maintenance, and the fact that we don't drive it very often puts it at higher risk for having mechanical issues.
Well, and I don't disagree, but it's already marked. It's already,
I will say,
There's additional work. Need to be sure about that.
I will say, the car was on a listing on GovDeals, our standard 2-week time frame. It did not sell. It has been relisted. I did not check prior to the meeting if it had sold or has a bid currently. So it's currently a chance that it might sell between now and the As the public safety director, the chief, my standpoint is the fire department doesn't need 2 personnel carriers. I think that the truck would suit our needs with towing the smoke trailer, and that given the fact that our primary response vehicle is an engine, that you have myself and Assistant Chief Young available, I think the maintenance cost, the insurance, and what we would have to do to maintain that vehicle is not worth, in my personal opinion, the expense when we took the truck from Public Works and served dual purposes. I think surplusing it and getting, the $4,500 or $5,000 that we might get from a proceed could offset some additional costs with the cascade system, hooking up the electrical, things of that nature. It'd be a wash in my opinion. But again, it's currently listed, and as of this moment, I say it has a date on it. There's a question earlier in the day regarding it, so I will respond to that person. But my operational is that we no longer need the car, that the truck is sufficing for our needs.
Okay, so what are your thoughts? Anything?
We're report based, so.
Okay, I mean, I just didn't know if anybody else had any questions. Okay, at this time, we will move to leaf truck update.
So I do have one more question on that. Did you want us to continue to move forward with trying to get those, the disposition of those vehicles? Do you want us to bring them back to you? How do you want us to proceed, particularly with
Get them
581?
bring them back so that they can set a reserve
Okay,
on both, I guess.
okay. Well, I didn't know if your action, if you were trumping your action in the spring or not, so I just asking for clarification.
I mean, we re-voted on that last month. We re-voted on surplusing those because prior we did not vote to surplus the car. We only voted on squad, brush, one fire truck, because we can't get 42. And then last month, and did all 4. And now I guess they're saying bring it back for reserve on the 2, and then we will wait on 442 until John.
Okay. So I'll try and find out if we can pull down the car. Okay, leaf truck.
Yes. 581, okay, can you come back up here? Sorry, I know that's gonna be an issue. So are you saying 581 is already on, it was put on today?
Currently, they're both active on gov deals. I want to make you aware that both the car and 581 are on gov deals.
Right. I know, I think she's saying,
I guess we'll have to check and see if we can pull them down.
okay. All right, we're moving to 8.2 leaf truck update.
To prevent an increase in price for the leaf truck between last month and this month, you will provide with additional information on the ecosystem, timing to make a change, and request for how you would like to move forward. In the form of a poll, you will provide with 3 options. I have documentation from Mayor Pro Tem Ashley Stewart, Alderwoman Sells, and Alderman Overcash requesting to move forward with the Joe Johnson leaf truck as recommended last month. The order has been placed for $220,545.
All right, any questions? All right, we will move to 8.3.
GoGov app update. Ms. Levi is here tonight on a communication app that will allow citizens to make requests and communicate to the staff directly. And she has a presentation for us tonight.
Don't have anything for the projector and a PowerPoint for you, but I just want to go over a few things. First, I'd like to say over the past few months, we have been in the process of implementing technology that will give our citizens a more user-friendly experience with the website, live streaming, agenda packets, and meeting minutes. Just want to comment a little bit on technology issues we've had in the past few months, particularly the anyone who is not versed in live streaming, it is not an easy task, especially in a board setting like this. I am not an IT person, and I do my very best to make sure that these meetings go out so the citizens can view them in real time. At the June meeting, our live streaming was not working. It was not working at the beginning of the meeting. It did not work out through the entire meeting. I worked the entire time to make sure that the meeting, or to try to get the meeting working. It never happened. I do, however, have an audio recording of that meeting, and I will try to find out if I can get the audio recording posted through our new town clerk software, Francis. If I'm unable to do that, Ms. Cherry is welcome to share a copy of her meeting, and I will get that posted. Now that the new town website is live streaming, and live streaming is working for us, which we're live streaming on our new town clerk software, I can begin your next project for the technology. It was important that this board, well, it is important for this board to find ways to better communicate with our citizens, and we've a company called GoGov. GoGov is a citizen request and notification and alert system. Citizens will be able to download the app directly to their smartphones and receive real-time notifications. They will also be able to use the app for simple service requests. Requests like they need a new trash can, or a light is out, a street light is out. Those are type requests they'll be able to do through the app. We're still working on all the logistics, but I'm really excited to share this with our citizens. GoGov is a company that was founded in 2004. They serve over 175 municipal customers and have over 2 million users. So you'll be able to see citizen notifications and citizen requests. There is an additional component to this that we can get later on, and that's code enforcement. We did not opt for the code enforcement portion of this app right now. So we're going to start with citizen notifications and citizen requests. So we will have our own branded app that you'll be able to download through your Google Play Store or through your App Store or Apple Store. It will be called My Landis. Citizens will get useful information about the town. They can submit service requests. There'll be frequently asked questions for the citizens. They'll receive notifications. It will link to our town website and also to our customer utility portal. There's a lot that we can do with this app. We'll probably start out with a few things and then continue to grow it as we move forward. There's a backside to this app as well. It has staff software associated with it, and that means that we can manage and route requests that come in from our citizens. We can assign and track work. I'll also be able to pull reports for board meetings so that you can see how the app is being utilized. And then a little bit about the citizen notifications. They'll get informational messages, emergency alerts, real-time push notifications. We'll be able to push this information out to social media as well, send via email, schedule sending, and have subscription lists. In the next few weeks, staff will be going through training and implementation. The whole process itself should take 6 to 8 weeks. So within 2 months, I should be bringing this back to you at a board meeting, saying that it's complete and that our citizens can start downloading the app. Questions about the app? Thank you.
All right, consider finance report 8.4.
So, Chase has a finance report this evening. If you are interested in receiving it, we did not distribute it to you because when we looked at the numbers that were in there, July is an interesting month because it's the first month of the year. We have charges that are being charged back to June. They're being split between June and July. The auditors have been in, they're making adjustments to some of those entries as well. So that report is available if you like it. I think it will produce for you more questions than answers because the numbers, as I looked at them today, do not look like they fall in line as they typically would. So we didn't want to spend a lot of time on that this evening. I think with your August report, you'll see things normalize and it will look much more like what you typically see. We have a lot of, for example, revenues that don't come in, they're a month behind, so we don't have any tax information yet. We'll get that this month, and that'll be, this month and next month will be a big tax revenue number from property tax. So I think when you get your August report, it will make more sense to you. We do have those reports. If you'd like them, you're welcome to them. But I do think you'll have the information is just hard to decipher at this point. I also wanted to take just a couple of minutes before my manager's report tonight and introduce someone to you. we have a new staff person who's going to be, he is our, managing that program for us, so I'm gonna let him talk about that just.
It's my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Robert Shin. He's here with us through June 30th. He just started with us August 1st. And in the past 2 weeks, he's already made great strides in helping us get our dam emergency in order to secure federal attention for the Lake Landis Dam. Geography with a concentration in GIS, which, as you know, is great for planning and map making and things of that nature. He's been assisting not only myself throughout this audit process already, but he's also been assisting with our planning, zoning, mapping of easements and such. I'll give Mr. Robert a moment to introduce himself and speak to you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for hosting me in the town of Landis. I've been a lifelong resident of Cabarrus County. I grew up off Highway 3 my entire life, and I have a deep connection to this area. As Jay said, I'm the UNC School of Government Lead North Carolina Fellow to AmeriCorps. So although I'll be working on the dam largely, I'm here to increase capacity overall. So if anything comes up that you think would be applicable to me, I'll assist you in any way that I can. And other than that, I look forward to coming back with all of you, becoming acquainted with the community throughout next year and hopefully into the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you, Robbie. It's a pleasure to have you on the team.
So just to FYI, Robbie has already signed up. He's going to be doing our map modifications to all of those pretty maps that Mr. Flo next Tuesday. He has met with Infocus and will be working with them on their software to be able to provide those for us. Okay, manager's report?
Yes, unless we.
I just have a couple of quick things. I'm not going to read it to you.
Okay.
I just wanted to, you have my manager's report. You can certainly read that. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But I do have a couple of things that come up recently that I want to make sure I call out tonight to you. Today I received a proposal from Jessica Stamper, our recreation director, to consider adding a band in our last cruise in. She has a local, one of the musicians in a local band has agreed to have his band come for a very reasonable price at the September cruise in. We are currently visiting that idea. I don't have a firm answer for you right now. I've just asked her to consider that Labor Day weekend, what with the band we had in July, and she's been requesting for folks to attend that, to consider doing it one more time. So that's a possibility coming in September. And then I wanted to just remind everyone that September 10th is the Bible Association 5K that has been in the works for quite some time. So those are the two things that will be coming up before your next meeting that I just wanted to call out.
All right, at this time, we will move to board comments. Mr. Epicott? Ms. Fells?
I just want to thank the police department and fire department for the National Night Out. I think everyone enjoyed it.
Mr. Stewart?
Same. I know a lot of effort from many folks was needed, and the National Night Out as well. Also, I would urge all the citizens to go back and review and be excited for the strategic planning process with the Central Illinois Council of Governments. Awesome things are happening, in my opinion. I think we're in a very positive direction overall. So thank you to all town employees and citizens as well.
Everything's Jim Dandy.
All right. I would like to say that I appreciate if you have viewed and stayed with us tonight. It has been a long process. I will tell you that as board members, we have been here since 5 o'clock. So it is a long and taxing night, as well as our staff that's on staff and here with us. So we appreciate everything that everyone does, whether it's from our public works to our police and fire, to our town hall. We appreciate it. I hope, and we'll, I'm gonna urge everybody to find one positive thing about Landis and let us know next time we see you. At this time, I'll ask to have a motion to go into closed session.
Mayor Board, I'm going to go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A6.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We're gonna end the live stream. Thank you for viewing.